Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome back. I'm JBrancatella, aka the Muslim metaphysician. And we have, and I always say it, and some people say, but Jake, you always say it. So then it kind of, gets rid of the the punch that it may have. We got another exciting episode for you guys. And as you can see from the title of this video, it's Daniel Haqiqatjou owes Omar Suleiman a serious, let me make the serious face. He owes him a serious apology. He owes him a sincere apology. He owes him a very serious apology. And I mean that. Now, people are saying, wait, hold on a second, Jake. What are you talking about? Omar Suleiman was actually committing an act of kufr and shirk. You can't be saying that he wasn't doing that. Maybe people say, Jake, we saw the video. We know Daniel's, gone off the rails lately. But come on, he was right about that, wasn't he? How could you say that he owes Omar Suleiman an apology for that, and a serious one? Well, that's not the angle that I'm coming at it from, guys. You'll see in just a few moments, inshallah. But basically, the gist of it is, look, Daniel had a certain criticism of Omar Suleiman, and rightly so. I didn't go through all the ins and outs of every single thing he's ever said about Omar Suleiman. But when it came to the issue of him participating in this, pagan, shirky, kufri ritual, of course, this was totally wrong. Not only wrong or haram, it was an act of kufr and shirk. No question about it. So then why am I saying that Daniel Haqiqatjou owes Omar Suleiman a serious apology? Well, the reason is because Daniel has now changed his position, and I'm going to demonstrate that in detail, some of which I haven't discussed previously. I'll say, well, Jake, you already shown that he changed his position on istighatha or other things. No, that's not the point. I'm going to show something very specific of how it relates to Daniel's accusation and attack on Omar Suleiman, and by the fact that he now has changed his position on that key issue, he no longer can consistently accuse Omar Suleiman of committing an act of kufr and shirk in that case. Otherwise, he needs to explain to us why he still can hold legitimately and consistently that Omar Suleiman committed an act of kufr and shirk when he's changed his position on some very key issues that relate to it. So before I jump into it, I put together a sort of highlight clip demonstrating this. It's about 20 minutes long from Daniel, some of Daniel's previous statements to his statements now. So we're going to be looking at things he said in the past as it relates to this initial thing with Omar Suleiman. And then we'll be looking at some of his statements now, comparing them, show how it relates and why he cannot consistently till today, based on his own standards. Jake, I can still criticize Omar Suleiman for committing an act of kufr and shirk, but Daniel, based on his new current standards, he can no longer do that, and therefore, based on his standards, not mine, he owes Omar Suleiman an apology. So, Omar Suleiman, I'm not your lawyer, and I still think you were dead wrong for what you did, but hey, I'm calling Daniel out for his consistency. So, people think I'm getting paid by the UAE or Morocco or these foreign governments. I'm not, So, hey, if you want to send me some support my way, you're welcome. Now Daniel's going to clip that and say, see, Jake is looking for money and support from Yaqeen and Omar Suleiman. That's why he's doing this video. So he's teaming up with the so-called Medkhalis, and he's teaming up with the so-called Haddadis, and he's teaming up with the so-called people from Yaqeen and Omar Suleiman. Jake just wants to get all of these different people to fund him. Yeah, you caught me, dude. You caught me red-handed. Now, I've issued a Mubahala challenge to Daniel, and he still, up until now, has not responded to it. So people can go tag him and let him know. If you do respond and you accept my Mubahala challenge, it'll be even worse for you, because it will expose you to possibly having Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's curse upon you. And I know for a fact I'm not lying. So you really don't want to do that, Dan. You really don't want that curse of Allah upon you. So I think it's best to come out, admit you were lying, or just ignore the request, ignore the challenge, and people will see and judge your sincerity based on that. And you can keep yapping and keep talking, but nobody should pay any mind to it. Anyway, so yeah, that's what we're going to get into, guys. The stream might be a little long. I would say probably we're going to go at least an hour, maybe up to 2 hours. Hopefully not much longer than that. And we're going to go through some details. So strap in your seatbelt. If you guys don't know much of the background story is Omar Suleiman went to this, public event for, protesting some things that were happening to migrants at the border in the U.S., and he partook in this, pagan Kufri ritual where he was sprinkling water and he was standing in front of Muslims who were getting put a cross on their forehead and all of this kind of stuff, right? So he participated. He's dead wrong. I'm not supporting that. That's not what Daniel owes a serious apology for. But we'll see what Daniel said at that time and now what he's saying. It's quite shocking. You'll be shocked by some of these clips. You're thinking, wait, is this the same Daniel from just a couple years ago? So anyway, let's go to this. Let me see here. 1 second, guys. Let me just pull this clip up. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's take a listen to what Daniel was saying to Omar Suleiman at that time. Bismillah.
He's silent. Not only is he not preventing them.
Hold on, let's change the speed. Sorry about that. That was on 2x speed.
Is he silent? Not only is he not preventing them, he is standing there silently with the priestesses, with the rabbis, with these kinds of transsexual biblical rituals that are being committed with oil right there in front of him. What does CARE have to say about not one, but two of their executive directors engaged in outright shirk? If they are that ignorant of Islam, then how are they leaders for the Council of American Islamic Relations? Has CARE become that much of a joke that they'll let these directors completely off the hook with no consequences? In the US, social justice activists and Black Lives Matter have also appropriated this shirk. So going back to Omar Suleiman's protest, we see that contained many aspects of shirk and kufr already. And all of this is by design. When we look at the organizers of this particular protest, Love Knows No Borders, in their documentation, they explicitly say that the whole protest is meant to culminate in a blessing or ritual for migrants, either inside a detention center or at the border. SubhanAllah, I'm having trouble expressing my anger and disgust at this. I mean, a prominent imam participating in a pagan ritual, it just boggles my mind that any Muslim would take their deen from someone like this. And let's not forget that this happened in front of hundreds of people. And this was the main deal. This was the main show, to bless the migrants, to bless the migrants. This ritual was the whole purpose, the culmination of this Sunnah protest. And there is an imam supposedly representing Muslims who is there at front engaging in outright kufr. Make sure you remember this comment, just in case once this video comes out, Omar Suleiman tries to justify his participation in the water ritual. Because if participating in the water ritual is okay, why wouldn't it be okay to participate in the oil anointing ritual? But he doesn't defend the oil ritual, and he says participating in rituals like this is haram. And he's also understating that it's not permissible to worship in the rituals of other religions. Not only is it impermissible, it is actually kufr. Now, if a jahil wants...
Now, so far what Daniel said, pretty much everything I'm agreeing with. How can you have this imam, somebody who's supposed to be representing the Muslim community during this time? Now, some people are saying that Omar Suleiman repented. He made tawbah for this. This video is not meant to attack Omar Suleiman. Everybody already knows what happened. If he made tawbah, alhamdulillah. If he didn't, then he should still be condemned for doing it. Okay, so this video is not meant to be an attack on him. I just want to make that clear from the outset. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't any other potential concerns with some other things he's said or currently saying or doing. I'm not getting into that. This is not a video, right, about dissecting Omar Suleiman. It has nothing to do with that. But he's presenting the evidence. He's showing that Omar Suleiman took part in this pagan shirki ritual, kufri ritual, and the act itself is an act of shirk and kufr. Now this, pay attention. If you guys weren't listening, you kind of zoned out, you're paying attention to the chat and these kind of things, pay attention to this next part. Now I see that somebody sent a super chat periodically throughout the video. I'll stop and I'll go to super chats and I'll address them. So if you have what you think is an important question or comment that needs to be addressed, send it as a super chat and it will be noted, and I'll get to that in a few minutes, inshallah. But pay very close attention to what he says here in this next part.
Is it impermissible? It is actually kufr. Now, if a jahil wants to come and argue that this is not kufr because we don't know the intentions of Omar and what's in his heart, I'll say this: his intentions are irrelevant. The action itself of pouring libations is a ritual of shirk. It is a pagan kufr ritual. The action is kufr. Even if he is single-handedly bringing...
So here's the point. Did you guys hear that? The act that Omar Suleiman committed when he was standing there and he poured out the water, or he was standing in front of others who were performing pagan rituals, just the act of him being there, being a part of it, quote unquote, participating, pouring out the water, right? That itself is an act of kufr and shirk, regardless of his intentions. So does anyone believe that Omar Suleiman actually thought that he was, you know, calling out to dead spirits when they were saying presente or whatever they were saying? Or does he actually believe he was participating in that pagan ritual and he was worshiping a false god, and that, or he was calling out to some independent deity? Does anyone believe that Omar Suleiman had that belief or intention in his heart when he committed this act of kufr and shirk? No, of course not. He thought, and you know, of course, still wrong, he thought he was going there to call for unity, something that Dan likes to do. Not this type of unity, to be fair to him, but unity with the community, unity with LGBTQ, unity with these pagans and these people who are supposedly standing up for migrants. Why? So we scratch their back, and in return, they'll scratch ours. Now, I think Omar Suleiman has grown from that experience, has learned that that's really not the way to go about it, that that's wrong, that it was still an act of kufr and shirk. I hope that he would admit that and that he's made tawbah for it. But nevertheless, Daniel is saying that what Omar Suleiman believed, why he was doing it at that time, what his beliefs, intentions were, has nothing to do with it. It's totally irrelevant. He could have thought that he was, you know, pouring water out there so that, I don't know, that a crab walking by or some, you know, creature on the sand was going to drink some water, right? It doesn't matter. Even if he believed that, it's still an act of kufr and shirk because of the setting, because of him being invited there, because of the nature of the ritual itself. And all of those things, it makes it an act of kufr and shirk regardless of his intention. Now, guess what, Dan? I agree with that 100%. You were right there. But now when it comes to istighatha, or praying or making dua to the dead, you say, hold on a second. It's not necessarily kufr and shirk because we don't know what the person believes. Does a person believe that they're calling upon an independent deity? Does the person who prays to Jesus believe that they're God? Does the person who believes in wilayat tekwaniya, that the imams or these non-prophets of the Shia or the awliya or the prophet himself, alayhi salatu wasalam, of the Sufis are controlling all of the atoms in the universe? Well, that's not necessarily kufr and shirk, because we have to ask what's their intentions and what's their beliefs about it. Well, if they don't believe in istiqlal or attributing independence to these, demigods, astaghfirullah, if they don't believe that, if they don't believe that they're a god, if they don't believe in independence, then it's not necessarily kufr and shirk akbar. It may be haram. It may be bid'ah. It may even be shirk, minor shirk, not shirk akbar. But it's not shirk akbar because the person's beliefs and intentions are different. What does that do, Dan? Your new position completely refutes your old position, which was the correct position, which was to say that Omar Suleiman committed an act of kufr and shirk, regardless of his intention at the time, regardless of his belief of why he was doing it at the time. He didn't believe he did not need to believe he was calling out to an independent deity in order for it to be an act of shirk. He didn't need to. He didn't need to believe that he was actually favorably viewing this pagan ritual when he did it. No. He doesn't need to in order for it to be an act of kufr and shirk. You were right back then, but now your new position is, we need to include the person's beliefs, act, intention, beliefs and intentions and all of these different things to figure out whether or not it is active kufr and shirk, and it's not. And then you specify the conditions, unless they believe it's an independent deity, unless they attribute istiqlal, unless they believe and have the intention of worship or ibadah and all of these things. Omar Suleiman did not have the intention, at least in his own mind, of committing an act of ibadah or worship to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He didn't. He would tell you that. What are you going to say? He's a liar? No. But nevertheless, even if he says that he didn't have the intention of committing an act of ibadah to other than Allah, worship to other than Allah, it's still an act of kufr and shirk, right? It's very clear. But Daniel, you can no longer say that. So based on your own new principles, you owe Omar Suleiman an apology. Clear cut. But it doesn't just stop there, guys. It gets better. Let's take a look. Let's look further, inshallah. Bismillah.
New meaning to the expression watering down, even if he is single-handedly bringing new meaning to the expression watering down Islam. And the problem is that this is sadly not an isolated incident. I have advised him privately, I've called him out publicly, and so have others who are more knowledgeable than me. But he continues to push his agenda and call out his critics as liars and slanderers. So it's really him who leaves us no choice to continuously have to warn about him and to continue to call him out because he insists on this path.
Wow. So what is that? All the people who are saying, hey, Jake, what about unity? Why don't you just leave Daniel alone? Why are you still talking about this, brother Jake? Come on, we don't have to go through this. Why do we have to do it? Can't you speak to him in private? Can't you have other more knowledgeable brothers who are close to him speak to him? That's all been attempted. Daniel's been spoken to in private by brothers more knowledgeable than I am, right? And guess what? He didn't accept their advice. He's doubling down on its kufr and shirk. He's still speaking about it. And Daniel is saying, and he was justifying his attacks, and rightly so, on Omar Suleiman at the time, of saying he is spreading kufr and shirk. These are very serious issues. He's someone who's a popular figure who's looked up as an imam or da'i in his community. There are young, impressionable Muslim minds going to watch this. What are they going to think? We can't have this person representing our community. People have tried to speak to him. He's not listening, and he's doubling down and still doing these type of things. So he needs to be warned against. He needs to be warned against. That's what Daniel's saying. And I agree with that, at least at the time. But now when the roles are reversed, when Daniel is no longer upon the aqidah of the Salaf, now look what he's doing. Oh, the beliefs and intentions, all of that matters. It's not kufr and shirk unless the person believes they're an independent God, even if they're praying, his own words, praying and making dua to Jesus, right? And then he legitimizes his attack by saying that he's continuing to do this. Well, it's the same thing, Dan. You are continuing. So shut your mouth. Stop spreading your kufr and shirk. We've already warned against you, but if you continue, we have to keep warning against you. Simple. Now, let's listen further. Here's another example where he repeats the same thing. Watch this.
Ahmed Mun'im, he sent a question. I think recently you had a show with a brother in London, and he's saying that you made takfir of Omar. So you know, that's again a question. Maybe he understood that. I wanted just to clarify something before Daniel steps in there. There is a difference between what we call mutlaq, takfir mutlaq, that we talk about an act. So the act could be an act of shirk or kufr, but takfir muayyan, individual takfir, is totally different, because we have to maintain two areas here: willful intention and knowledge. And this has to be addressed by the individual himself before you even do that. So, you know, I haven't watched, I tried to watch it, but I found out it's 2 hours. So I said, no. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to give a blind question to Daniel, and maybe he can recall what he said on that show. Can you please state what you said and explain that that's not your approach at all of making takfir of people?
Yeah, we did. In that show, it was very explicit that we are not making takfir. We said explicitly, we are not making takfir. So maybe the questioner didn't watch that part of the show. Nowhere did we say that Fulan is a kafir. In fact, we said the opposite. We said we're not going to make takfir. We say that this is an action of kufr. Okay, the action you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
The action you can say this is an act of shirk or this is kufr.
Yes.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that the person who has done it has committed is a kafir.
Yeah,
Now this is very important, because Daniel constantly has been conflating the issue of takfir and actually declaring an individual, specific person, a kafir, and the ruling on the act itself. Is the act, or is the statement, or is the belief a belief, act, or statement? Is it kufr, or is it something merely that is bid'ah, that doesn't reach the level of kufr? What is the status of the belief, action, or statement, versus when you have something that rises to the level of kufr or shirk, do you automatically make takfir on that person, right? Now that's a discussion. Daniel is recognizing that he knows the distinction between those two, and he's saying, no, people are misrepresenting me. I'm not making takfir of Omar Suleiman. I'm just saying that the act itself that he committed was an act of kufr and shirk. And Sheikh Karim Abu Zaid agrees with him, which I also agree with that, right? So just because a person commits an act of kufr doesn't necessarily entail that that person is automatically takfired. And we've said this numerous times, publicly and privately, to Dan, but he goes around lying and says that we want to takfir everyone, right? And he also later conflates the issue of kufr and shirk akbar with it necessitating takfir, which is another thing that we don't agree with. And we've explained that many times, privately and publicly, and he still keeps lying about it. And I think maybe it's partially due to the fact that he's actually changed his own position, and he's more of a takfiri than me or anybody else, and he doesn't even realize it, which I'll go on to explain in more detail. But now, focus on this next part where he talks about the intention of Omar Suleiman again. Listen to this.
We have to remove, 4 areas which can be summed up in those 2 points: willful intention and knowledge, that he did it knowingly, and also he had the intention of doing so.
But But even if it's regardless of intention or knowledge, it is still an act of kufr.
Absolutely.
This is a major
Yeah.
thing, not something small, not a lapse or just,
I just said the willful intention and the knowledge to al-muayyan, that if you want to point finger, like you want to say this person for them. Yes. Okay.
So you see that Daniel again notices and says what? Repeating the same thing he said in his own private video. So it's not once, it's not a slip of the tongue. And people need to understand that Daniel gained a lot of popularity from this video. It's one of his most popular videos on his Muslim Skeptic channel. On the video section, I think it's actually the second most popular video on his channel. It's got like 600 or 700,000 views, something like that. Okay. So this is extremely important. A lot of people have watched that video. Now, they'd be shocked to know that Daniel now has changed his positions, and that in order for him to actually still make this same accusation, he couldn't do it because he no longer holds that same position, right? So now he's saying in this part of the clip that, again, regardless of Omar Suleiman's knowledge and intentions, or his beliefs, it's totally irrelevant. It's still an act of kufr and shirk. We agree, Danny boy. But now you've changed your position, so you no longer can say that about Omar Suleiman. Therefore, you cannot say that he committed an act of kufr and shirk, and you owe him a sincere, serious apology, sir, based on your own newfound principles. Even though they're completely false, based on your own standards, you can't consistently make that accusation. And if you believe you can, then you need to explain to us why you can still consistently argue that Omar Suleiman committed an act of kufr, regardless, completely irrelevant to his intention, belief, and knowledge at the time. But yet, when somebody believes that an imam controls the entire atoms in the universe, we can't say that's a belief that is kufr unless we ask him if he believes that the imam is an independent God. We cannot say that a person has a kufri belief or committed an act of kufr when they pray, literally pray or make dua, those are your words, not mine, to Isa alayhi salam, unless they believe he's an independent God. This is your newfound position. Show me, give me the symmetry breaker of why you can consistently still say that Omar Suleiman committed an act of kufr and shirk, regardless of his knowledge, intentions, and belief, but yet somebody who is calling upon the dead is not, and somebody who believes in the wilayat taqwiniya of the imamiyya, Shia, of the imams controlling all of the atoms in the universe and everything in creation doesn't matter unless they affirm istiqlal, or the fact that they're an independent God or deity. You have no way out of this, Dan. If you think you do, then you should respond and defend yourself. Otherwise, you owe Omar Suleiman a sincere apology, or you should repent, come back to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. We will embrace you, apologize, make tawbah, come back, and go back to your previous position and everything that you're mentioning here. And we'll say, Alhamdulillah, we forgive you. No problem. Meshi mushkil. But let's continue listening. It gets better, guys.
But you don't really need to know all of this history. When you see it, right, you can just see what is going on, and this is shirk. This is a ritual of shirk, and it's something in a religious context. So this is something very serious. And one thing that people should understand about shirk is that someone could do an act of shirk or an act of kufr, disbelieving on Allah. They can make a statement of shirk or a statement of kufr. And that doesn't necessarily take them out of Islam. It doesn't make them a kafir. It doesn't make them a mushrik. There are certain more requirements. Like, for example, did they know what they were doing? What was their intention? What was their knowledge? There are certain other issues that we don't need to get in depth. But the action, exactly. But the actual act itself is, we can judge the status of that act, and we judge by what is apparent, which is a clearest principle in the deen.
Just to Haqiqatjou is a Christian ritual, which
so now, to be clear, Daniel again is repeating the same thing, regardless of Omar Suleiman's knowledge, intention, and belief at the time when he committed the act. It was an act of kufr and shirk. However, those things are relevant when we declare takfir on him or not. Then we ask him what he believes, what was intention when he committed the act. Did he have knowledge of this? Did he have knowledge of the fact that this was kufr and shirk, etc., etc.? You ask him these questions before you make takfir of him. But even prior to that, you judge, like Daniel said, we judge based upon the apparent. And therefore, because we judge based on the apparent, apparently what he did and what he said was an act of kufr and shirk. Very simple. Okay, very simple.
So used for seeking help from.
Well, I don't
from the
know.
cross
Is it
and blessing.
is it a Christian ritual?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
there's
Yeah,
rabbis there as well who were participating. Rabbis were there.
If I'm not mistaken, it was the Christian priestess was putting the cross on their heads, right? So it's the anointing. They use it to seek cures. So it's istighatha بغير الله عز وجل. So they're trying to seek cure from the cross. So,
Okay, I didn't know that.
yeah.
So there's all kinds of information.
Wow. So you see that? What Brother Imran is saying is that was an act, and it's a form of istighatha where they're seeking help from other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the dead. And Daniel is nodding his head in agreement. Why? Because at the time, he affirmed that istighatha to the dead was actually an act of kufr and shirk akbar, not minor shirk. Or when Daniel says shirk, he doesn't mean shirk akbar, he means minor shirk. No. Daniel at this time believed that it was an act and belief of kufr and shirk akbar, not minor shirk. So that's why he's nodding his head in agreement. Let's continue.
Right, you don't need to know,
as
right?
well.
Right, you don't need to know these details, and this
Yeah.
is relevant when we get to his response.
That was what people need to realize is that is an ibadah for them. That's an act of what Christians
Not even
anointing.
Not even though the ones who are there getting anointed. Yes, that's clear. But even, is it allowed to go and stand while a ritual is taking place? So, for example, you go to the church on Sunday as a Muslim, and they're having their service, and they are doing communion, and they're doing all of these kinds of rituals that they have. They're giving a sermon, right? Is it permissible for you as a Muslim to go
Not at
sit
all.
in the audience, to go
Not
and
at all.
listen to that, to go and watch
Not at
that?
all.
Is it permissible?
No, not at all.
Let alone
at all.
you go stand on stage. You go
Yeah,
stand on
I-
stage and you stand there and look out onto the audience. Is that allowed? Because
No.
this is what
And-
Omar Suleiman is doing, and he claims that he did not participate in the ritual.
No, he participated, and we've got delil for this. Look at this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And
So what Daniel is saying, which is also true, even going there to a church or to a worship service where these pagan rituals are happening and looking upon them and seeing that Muslims are getting a cross put on their forehead and taking part, not even taking part himself, but just being there, being on the stage and smiling as if you're in agreement, that is kufr and shirk. Well, guess what? Daniel's good buddy did that recently, but he did even more than that. Mr. Andrew Tate. What did he do? He actually, out of his own mouth, even much worse, way worse than Omar Suleiman. He said in front of his boys on Easter Sunday with his Christian buddies and his Christian brother, we are going to the church to go and worship the Lord Jesus Christ. Wow. Subhanallah, astaghfirullah. And then what did he do? He and his boys jumped in his supercars and they went over to the church. And he repeated the same thing in the car. We're going to serve and honor and worship the Lord Jesus Christ and all this kind of stuff. And he said at the time, I cannot think of a better thing to do than be with your boys and go and worship the Lord Jesus Christ. This is what Andrew Tate is saying. Then he goes there on Easter Sunday, which is a known holiday for the Christians, a shirki kufri holiday, where they believe that God, astaghfirullah, actually died and rose from the dead. And that is your, based upon that, that's where you get your forgiveness of your sins. So Andrew Tate says he doesn't just we don't have to guess about his intention. He said he's going to worship Jesus, goes there, then participates in the pagan ritual, stands there in the Sunday worship service on Easter Sunday, Christian holiday, holding up a lit candle in the moonlight while the priest is up there spewing his kufriyat, and he's standing there with a candle. Now, here's the question. Did the Christians in that ritual service, did they do an act of ibadah? Did they worship their Lord Jesus Christ? Of course they did. Well, Andrew Tate did the exact same thing, and he told you he was going to do the exact same thing. So how was that not an act of kufr and shirk? It clearly was, very clearly. But yet Daniel has attacked me for then going after Andrew Tate about this. Oh, Jake's made several videos on Andrew Tate. Why is he pressing Andrew Tate on this? Well, because when I first did it, we went to him in privately. He doubled down on his kufr and shirk eventually, and is continuing to do this, never publicly retracted, never publicly repented. And just like you said about Omar Suleiman, that then there legitimizes you to do what? To continue calling him out. So that's what I did for several weeks or a month or whatever it was, couple months. But you have to complain about me with that, right? Because now I'm calling you out for your kufr and shirk. But you didn't have a problem with it when you did it to Omar Suleiman. But it's fine because it's Andrew Tate and he's a new Muslim. He's only been Muslim for 3 years. They'll say that when he's 13 years Muslim. Oh, he's only been a Muslim for 13 years. Not a big deal. He went to he broadcasted in front of hundreds of thousands of people, and he still got it up. And when he was told by Muslims who are more knowledgeable than him, he called them gay and said they're homosexuals, which is a violation in of itself. Not only didn't take the video down or repent or apologize, doubled down on his kufr and shirk, Andrew Tate, and then called people who were correcting him gay. Oh, wow, but Jake's the big bad guy. Jake, why are you so angry? Oh, no, I should be happy when somebody like Andrew Tate is infiltrating the Muslim community and spreading their kufr and shirk to young Muslim minds or those who may be interested in Islam. And they say, oh, well, Andrew Tate went with his brother, and they went to the church together. Well, Andrew Tate and his brother are going to tell you, oh, he doesn't actually believe that Jesus is an independent God or deity when he committed that act of kufr and shirk. He just believed that he was going there to support his brother on a religious holiday. It was nothing serious. He didn't have a bad intention or belief about it. So it's okay, right? Or it's not okay, but it's not kufr and shirk, and it can't potentially lead him out of the fold of Islam, can it? Of course it can. So again, I'm just highlighting more of Dan's inconsistencies. Let's continue.
So we had a gathering, and we said, the issue of Hussein. If you see a Shi'i making dua to Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu, should you not then tell him stop because he's doing shirk? And he said no. He said, I wouldn't tell him stop. I would just talk to him about the good things about Allah. For example, I would talk to him about the rububiyyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but not his uluhiyyah. Meaning I will tell him about Allah and the good things about Allah. But remember, there was not ever a single prophet who came to teach you Allah exists. Allah said, Fillahi shak. There's no doubt in Allah. Even Fir'aun believed in Allah. That's why he told Haman, build a tower so I can climb to the top and see the God of Allah, Musa. Why would he tell Haman to build a tower if he didn't believe? So, and there are many evidences to show that he believed. So they always believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The point was they worshipped other gods. The Christians believe in Allah, but then they worship Jesus besides him. So I was a bit taken aback here. I was thinking, the thing, like this Shi'i guy is going to burn in hellfire for eternity if he dies upon kufr and shirk, right? And he's doing it, and he's got knowledge of his aqidah, like subhanallah, he's going to die in kufr and shirk. Why would you not tell him? And then I started to tell people, the reason I'm mentioning this, sorry, you may not follow, but because I mentioned this in some videos in the past, so those who are watching the conversation, most of them I'm going to follow, and I'm going to drive the point home, inshallah ta'ala, is that I started to tell people, I said, one of the reasons I left these people is because they actually, it's not just that they want to justify bid'ah and go against the sunnah, but they actually also have an issue with la ilaha illallah, like tawheed, they have an issue with, and they actually tolerate shirk for that reason. And then I came across some ahadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where Hudayfa asked him about the evil that's going to come in the end of times. And the Prophet said it's going to be du'at. Hadith Sahih Muslim. Du'atun. There's going to be people giving da'wah. Ala abwabi jahannam. They are at the gates of the hellfire. فَمَنْ أَجَابَهُمْ إِلَيْهَا. Whoever responds to their da'wah, whoever listens to their da'wah, قَذَفُهُ فِيهَا. Or كما قال, he's going to fall into the hellfire with them. And wallahi.
The thing that they will
You hear that, guys? Who does that describe perfectly? Who does that describe perfectly now? That describes you, Dan, the du'at who are at the gates of hellfire, and people who respond to their da'wah. They are going to follow this man right into hell. You can guarantee it. You can guarantee it. This is the hadith from the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, that the du'at are the ones. And who does this perfectly describe? Daniel. And what were they talking about? Istighatha. To who? Of the Shia to Hussein, radiyallahu an. Calling upon a companion of the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, who has died, has passed away, calling on him for help and your needs and whatever else. This is an act of Shirk Akbar. And Brother Imran explained it perfectly. And he said, what I noticed about these people, he was speaking about the people from Yaqeen and these other people, is that he could no longer associate with them because they had a problem with La ilaha illallah. Right? There's no God worthy of worship in truth except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They had a problem with this. Now Daniel himself has a problem with this. Very clearly. On this exact issue of the Shia, right? Calling out to the dead for their needs and all kinds of other foolishness. Now, Daniel is that person that Brother Imran described from that hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. He is a da'i that is calling and that is at the gates of the hellfire. That's what he's doing. And anyone who follows him is in danger of falling right into the hellfire with him. And we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide him away from this kufr and shirk, and that he will make him someone who calls to the Quran and Sunnah. Right? That's what we want. But if we don't get that, we want him to be muzzled and to be shut up because he is calling to the hellfire. And people say, hold on, Jake, why do you look so angry? Why are you always talking like this? What should I do? Should I sit here? Okay. And first of all, you know, people can have an issue with the way I talk and the way I act, but this is raw, unfiltered. This is Jake. It is what it is. This is how it is. People who know me and Daniel who knows me knows that this is not fake. This is not for show. Other people who knows me, this is not for show. This is the way I talk, the way I act when you see me in person. You like it, you don't like it. It is what it is. Right? And guys, anyone who's putting slanderous comments in the chat, you just get banned, you get deleted, so it's good because we like to filter you out. We don't even want you watching and commenting the stuff. We just block you, filter you out, and keep it moving, right? So this is how I am. This is raw and unfiltered. You like it or you don't. It is what it is, okay? But the fact of the matter is, I'm not going to come up here and say, yeah, brothers and sisters, yes, Daniel is calling to Kufur and Shirk, and you know, this is just terrible, guys. What are we going to do? You know, I don't know. You know, we love Brother Daniel and we appreciate his work and all the good things he's doing. But, you know, he has a couple problems and, you know, it's really unfortunate, but we should still, you know, praise him for the good that he's doing. And we love him and we want unity with him. And, you know, it's not that bad. Yes, haram, but it's not necessarily Shirk Akbar. Or it is, but we can forgive him. He's just ignorant. He doesn't know any better. Even though when he tell him that, he gets mad and tells you, no, it's the exact opposite. But no, it's okay, brothers and sisters. Go and support Brother Daniel's work. Subscribe to his channel. You know, we still love him. This is not me, guys. If that's what you're looking for, you got the wrong channel. Unsubscribe, hit the thumbs down button, leave a nasty comment, call me a medkhadi so I can block you and delete you. If you like it, or you appreciate what I have to say, do the opposite. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe. Best way to support my work is in the chat, pinned in the link there, as well as in the description of the video. I'll let you guys know this all the time, whatever way you want to go. Okay. But anyway, let's see here. Then he continues on, Brother Imran. But now I want to show you that I pointed this out to Brother Daniel on Twitter, and let's see what he did. Mr. Daniel Haqiqatjou, right? I pointed this out to Mr. Daniel, right? Okay, here we go. I pointed out this exact video to Daniel. Look at what he said. I said, Daniel, isn't this proof that you changed your position on it being Shirk Akbar? Before Istighatha, you believed it was Shirk Akbar, that can potentially take somebody out of the fold of Islam. Now you believe that it's not Shirk Akbar and may not even be Shirk at all, right? And guess what he says? Instead of admitting, yeah, Jake, I grow, I change, even though it would be the opposite. No, I didn't change my position. Here's what he says. In response, I said, you always have and still do believe making dua to a person, I meant to put to a dead person, is Shirk Akbar? He says, Imran, the brother who's in the video, Dawah Man, or he used to go by that name, he doesn't anymore. Imran doesn't say Shirk Akbar anywhere in the clip. No wonder you need 10 years prep to be able to have a conversation with me. Tell Rabbi Faris you need a lot more backup. So he's trying to say that Imran is not in the video saying that this is Shirk Akbar. What are you talking about? I'm going to show the evidence that he does, actually. And Daniel is nodding his head along like a good little student, like a good little boy, in agreement. But because he's seen doing that, and because he is so arrogant, he's so dishonest that he doesn't even want to admit that he changed his position of used to saying that it was Shirk Akbar to now not saying it, that he has to lie and say that Imran didn't say Shirk Akbar, so that's not really what he was talking about, right? That's what he has to do. So let's show the proof of how that cannot possibly be the case. I mean, be the case. You already saw the video, but here I posted a clip, not a clip, sorry. I did a post breaking down exactly what Imran actually said in that clip that we just watched. So I said, because then I responded to that, and then Daniel went ghost. He never responded. He does this all the time. Every time I catch him out on Twitter and respond to him and then bury him and he gets trapped, he runs away. So I made a post that says this. Here is another thread where Haqiqatjou gets trapped and buried, and he runs away like the lying zindiq coward that he is. Yes, I said it, and I still affirm it. In this video, in this video with Dan, Imran says this. Now you tell me, does this sound like Shirk Akbar? The issue of Hussein, radiallahu an, if you see a Shi'i making dua to Hussein, should you not then tell him to stop because he is doing shirk? Then he continues, they, meaning the Christians, right? Or not the Christians, I think he was talking about the mushrikeen. They always believed in Allah. The point was they worshipped other gods. The Christians believe in Allah, but then they worship Jesus besides him. I, meaning Imran, was thinking this Shi'i guy is going to burn in hellfire for eternity. Why? For making dua to Hussein radiallahu an. If he dies upon kufr and shirk, right? And when he says, if he dies upon that this Shi'i for making dua, calling upon the dead to Hussein radiallahu an, if he dies upon this kufr and shirk, he's going to burn in hellfire for eternity. Do you burn in hellfire for eternity for not Shirk Akbar? Clearly, in the context, he's talking about Shirk Akbar, and Daniel, like a good little boy, nods his head along. I said, here, Dan nods his head, yes, in agreement. Now, Daniel is trying to argue that Brother Imran did not mean Shirk Akbar when he said, quote unquote, shirk. That's what he meant. Imran merely meant shirk asghar, or a minor shirk, another lie and slander against a Muslim, another lie and slander against Imran. Then I tagged him. Can you, Dawah Man, confirm that you clearly meant Shirk Akbar when you made this statement and that Daniel has no legitimate excuse to say otherwise? Now, I didn't realize that he hasn't been on Twitter in like 5 years. I don't really speak to him, so I didn't know that. But so he didn't respond. But I can guarantee you he would agree. Of course, Dawah Man Imran is, at the time, of course, was a Salafi, believed that istighatha was Shirk Akbar. He was clearly talking about making dua to Hussein radiallahu an, and saying that the person who does that and dies upon that kufr and shirk will burn in hellfire for eternity. Of course, he's talking about Shirk Akbar. But again, dishonest Dan doesn't want to admit that he changed his position. So that's why he's trying to make an excuse to explain why he was nodding his head along in agreement. Now, let's just show that clip one more time here. Let me show you guys this clip one more time to where he's nodding in agreement at that point. Hold on, you see this? See that? He's saying yes, yes, and he's stroking his beard. Yeah, he's gonna die upon kufr and shirk and burn in hellfire for eternity, right? Okay, the video is not showing. That was a failure. Okay, you got me, Dan. You busted me down. Let me show this again.
Upon kufr and shirk, right? Like this Shia guy is gonna burn in hellfire for eternity if he dies upon kufr and shirk, right?
He's going like this, yes.
And he's doing it, and he's got knowledge of his aqidah. Like subhanallah, he's gonna die in kufr and shirk.
How much he's into it.
Why would you not tell him? And then I started to tell people. And reason
watch Daniel's head right here while he's stroking his beard, and he looks like he's on a rocking chair out in Houston, Texas. Watch this.
The Christians believe in Allah, but then they worship Jesus besides him. So I was a bit taken aback here. I was thinking, the thing, like this Shia guy is gonna burn in hellfire for eternity if he dies upon kufr and shirk, right?
Wow. And this Shia guy who's making dua to Hussein radiallahu an is going to die upon kufr and shirk and burn in hellfire for eternity for that. So why don't we warn him? Oh, that's what Jake wants to do for the Shia. That's what Jake wants to do for these extreme Sufis and these people who claim to be Sunni who are doing this. But no, Jake is a big bad guy. These are merely secondary issues that shouldn't be spoken about, and we shouldn't warn against this evil kufr and shirk. Meanwhile, Daniel was agreeing with Brother Imran for people trying to shut him up when he was trying to do this with the Shia, that we should do it because otherwise they're going to die upon kufr and shirk and go to hellfire for eternity. But Daniel says, oh no, Brother Imran wasn't talking about Shirk Akbar. He wasn't talking about that. He meant something else. Or he didn't say Shirk Akbar. So how do we know that's what he meant? Come on, Dan. This is why I did the mubahala with you, because you're such a disgusting liar. Nobody could even waste time with you anymore. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. And your own Dan fans, man, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is either extremely more vast than I realize, or if these people die upon this, there's going to be a lot more people in hell than we realize. Because this man right here is at the gates of the hellfire, and he's calling to it. He's saying, come right in, guys. Come right in. And then he's lying and telling you that he never believed something otherwise, right? At least with Yasser Qadhi, see, he's on a Yasser Qadhi trajectory. But at least with Yasser Qadhi, he admits, yeah, like when somebody made that video, you guys remember that video? Yasser Qadhi refutes Yasser Qadhi. And it shows like clips like this, what Yasser Qadhi said before, what he's saying now. And it would show that and he would get refuted, right? When we do that with Dan, he doesn't even admit that he had those beliefs. He twists what he said and what he did and his nodding and agreement and all this kind of stuff before. He twisted to say, oh, no, I never changed my position. At least with Yasser Qadhi, another deviant charlatan, right? What does he do? At least he has the guts, right? And the let me not go there. Look, at least he has the guts to admit that he changed his position. He changed it to a Kufri view. But at least he admits that he changed his position, and what he said before is what Jake currently believes. Dan won't even do that because he's too arrogant. He has too much kibr. And this is what is causing a lot of this. A lot of this is caused by Daniel's arrogance, his kibr, his refusal to admit when he's wrong, right? It's just unbelievable. So I hope this is clear to the people. Now let's go back and fast forward a little bit here.
Came across some ahadith that's going to come hellfire. فمن أجلها أو كما قال he's going to fall into the hell.
Engage in refutation.
And wallahi.
Okay, now let me show you guys a couple more evidences and a couple more examples to prove that Daniel Haqiqatjou used to believe that istighatha was Shirk Akbar. Let's go to the evidence, guys. Let's go to the evidence. Let's see this here. Let's see another example. It's not just one example. It's many examples. And C. Smith, let's see. C. Smith, I saw C. Smith was crying in the chat. Look, honestly, I never heard of these labels until recently. I knew Sunni, Shia, Sufi, Salafi. Okay, man, don't don't give us an issue just because of your own ignorance. I'm sorry to say. Right. Now let me show some of these other examples here. Okay, here's another clear example of Daniel agreeing that istighatha is Kufur and Shirk Akbar.
Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would question the Christians in the day, Prophet Isa alayhi salam in the day of judgment, did you tell the people to take you and your mother as gods beside me? Mother. The Christians actually are puzzled by this. Mother? Yeah. Maryam, nobody claims that Maryam is a god. Only a few, maybe. Nobody. Yeah, but you got Christians who go and speak to her. Oh, Virgin Mary, and you may have them at the same time. So someone in Africa, imagine you go and talk to Virgin Mary, knowing that Virgin Mary speaks to you, hears you. You understand? Who can hear everybody at the same time? So you're taking the attribute of Allah, you're giving it to the created beings. Even they are not alive, they are dead. You want to tell me that this is not shirk? Give me a break, man.
Wow. So you want to tell me that this is not shirk? Give me a break, man. Wow. So let's break that down. What exactly he said. I said another clear example that Haqiqatjou used to believe that istighatha to the dead was Shirk Akbar. Kareem Abu Zaid says, and I quote, why would Allah question Isa alayhi salam on the day of judgment? Did you tell the people to take you and your mother, Mary, as gods besides Allah? And then Kareem Abu Zaid goes on to explain how many Christians make istighatha to Mary. He says, so you're taking the attribute of Allah and giving it to created beings like Mary, even though they are not alive? They are dead. You want to tell me this is not shirk? Give me a break, man. And Daniel's shaking his head in agreement. Why? Because there's this verse in the Quran that says, basically that Christians believe that Mary is God or is a God. And they say, hey, look, the Quran is misrepresenting the Trinity. It believes that it's the Father or God and the Son, Jesus, and then Mary. And it's supposed to be Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. See, the Quran doesn't even understand the Trinity. This is one of their silly arguments. I have another video refuting this whole shubha on my channel. But anyway, right? What is it? No, what Kareem Abu Zaid explains is that Unlike what Daniel says, that you need to declare the being that you're calling upon to be an independent deity, that's not the case, because the Christians don't believe that Mary was an independent deity, but they make istighatha to her. They call upon her. They pray to her. They treat her, even though she's dead and passed away, in a way that they attribute attributes that are only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to her, to the creation. And they do that with all of their other saints. This is why. That's how you make sense of the verse of the Quran. Otherwise, you would have to say, oh, Christians actually believe that she's an independent deity, which they don't believe, and none of them believe, right? So then that would say that the Quran is wrong, which it's not. It's because they actually make istighatha to Mary, which many of the Protestants actually agree with, that this is actually kufr, that this is actually Shirk Akbar. Daniel was nodding in agreement. This is a second example of the fact. Now, Daniel, I said, will lie again, like he did with Brother Imran, and claim that Karim Abu Zayd meant Shirk Asghar, or a minor shirk, when he said shirk. He didn't mean Shirk Akbar. What a deceptive devil, because that's what he is. That's the honest reality. Now, let me go to another example. This is the final example here, right? Show you guys this final example here of Daniel affirming that istighatha is Shirk Akbar. Let me share my screen 1 second. Okay, let's see here. Okay, here we go. Let's take a listen. So this is Daniel before. This is a couple years ago. If you can't see this, is from February 2nd, 2021. May Allah reward Imam Karim Abu Zayd for his clear, straightforward statement. This is what we need. Many Muslims are confused and getting more confused by the day. We cannot afford to ignore those who insist on spreading heresy, deviance, and shadh views, basically, out there, far out there views, that only increase shubuhat or doubts and fahisha, right? This is what Daniel is saying at this time. You see this video? What is he praising? Response to Yasir Qadhi. This is when Yasir Qadhi came out several years ago and denounced Salafiyya and came out and said that he no longer is a Salafi. He's post-Athari or post-Salafi, whatever this means, basically making up his own stuff as he goes along, which Daniel now is doing the exact same thing. The guy that he loved to hate, Yasir Qadhi, he has virtually the same beliefs as he does, right? All these things are not important. We don't need to talk about them. Look at him. He's praising Karim Abu Zayd for going after Yasir Qadhi for saying that istighatha is not shirk. That's what this video is about. He's praising him not only in agreement that he agrees that istighatha actually is Shirk Akbar, because if he didn't agree with that at that time in 2021, right, 4 years ago, if he didn't agree with that, why would he be praising this video when that's the subject of the video, where he's calling out Yasir Qadhi, who now has the exact same position as Daniel, as saying that it's not Shirk Akbar, it's just merely haram or bid'ah. That's what Yasir Qadhi was saying. That's what he was saying. Now you have the same position. Before, you were praising a video of Karim Abu Zayd refuting that, where he was saying that it is Shirk Akbar and that Yasir Qadhi is calling to the hellfire. Now this is a clip from the video that Daniel's praising.
He's asking about some scholar who said worshipping the grave is not shirk. Get a hike. Tell him get a hike. Sell that stuff to the people who don't know their belief system. My dear friend.
He said, take a hike. Now look at this video. Muslim skeptic. Look at this miskeen. He's saying, may Allah reward you, Sheikh. Much needed, Sheikh. May Allah reward you, Sheikh. We love and respect you, Sheikh. This was much needed. We need to call out this deviant spreader of heresy, Yasir Qadhi. Yes, I agree, Dan. But now look at you. No, Kareem Abu Zaid. No, Jake. What are you guys doing? Don't call me out for my deviance when I'm saying the same thing that Yasser Qadhi said in a video where Kareem Abu Zaid was refuting him and I was praising Sheikh Kareem. Oh, no, Dan. Say it ain't so. But no. Daniel is just going to say, yes, we need Sheikh Kareem. When he said it's much needed, what he meant by that was, we just need you to sit there and, mashallah, Imam Kareem, looking nice with a nice beard, right, in the kufi. We just need you to look nice in the studio and smile, mashallah, tabarakallah. That's what we need. Oh, he wasn't referring to refuting Yasser Qadhi for his, deviant views and the view that Daniel now holds. No. That's not what Daniel meant, right? He will twist and spin his own words. If you look up at the sky and you say, Dan, isn't the sky blue? He will say, Jake said the sky was green. This is what this man does. He is the biggest lying zindiq shaitan I've ever seen in my entire life. Wallahi. This is who he is. Now, this is what he's saying. I disagree with them, meaning the Salafis, on both counts. I don't think calling to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam makes you a kafir mushrik, but it is still haram. Just like Daniel, just like Yasser Qadhi is saying, it's haram, but it's not, kufr, but it's not shirk, right? That's what he's saying. That's what Daniel's saying now. Then look at this. Watch this. If someone says, "Ya Sheikh, help me," they auto-takfir this person as a kafir mushrik. I disagree. I think it is haram and potentially could be shirk, but what he means by that is minor shirk, not Shirk Akbar. But they should not be auto-takfired, right? And then listen what he says here. He says, look, so then our positions are completely opposed. You say, meaning he was referring to me in this post, you say, Jake, yes, it is known with certainty that going to the grave of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asking him directly for healing is Shirk Akbar, like the Trinity or praying to an idol. I say no, it might not even be shirk at all, and certainly not shirk like the Trinity. Again, in that context, he means minor shirk, not Shirk Akbar. So it might be minor shirk, right? Not something that takes you out of the fold of Islam, or even has the potential to. It's minor shirk, it's a major sin, but not as big of a deal. But he says it might not even be shirk at all. Yet he was just praising Sheikh Kareem in a video for refuting that view and saying that Yasser Qadhi, in virtue of having this view, is calling to misguidance. Wow, Dan, it's so unfortunate how times have changed for you. And the fact that you will lie and say, no, you never actually supported this position at all. You're a liar. That's all you are, is just an open liar at this point. What else can we say? Now, to show you how Daniel plays games with Shirk Akbar and what it means, I'm going to show you this clip. Watch. Let's go to this here. 1 second.
So it's not that you are even doing istighatha. It's not that you're doing istighatha. You just believe that it's not Shirk Akbar. So my position, basically, my position that it's shirk, istighatha in many cases, not all cases, as I've said for the 1,000 millionth time, istighatha in many cases, when it meets certain conditions, is shirk. Is shirk. It's a major sin, and it is shirk in certain cases. But is it Shirk Akbar, such that there's no doubt that the person performing it is outside of Islam? No. That's what I've explained to Adnan Rashid. That's what I explained to everyone on multiple streams through, at this point, it's got to be like dozens, if not hundreds of tweets. So, but that position, where I think in many cases istighatha is shirk, but I don't elevate it to Shirk Akbar, where you takfir the person who does it or who thinks it's acceptable. Having that position is worse.
So look what Daniel's saying. Notice how he's using the word shirk. He's saying, I do believe in many cases it's shirk, but it's not shirk akbar. That shows that when he says that he believes it's shirk, and look at his face, mashallah. Yo, unbelievable. Listen, dude, anybody, I'm telling you guys right now, anybody who comes in the chat and says, hey, just talk to Daniel, just be friends with him, just have a private discussion with him, just have a debate with him. Anybody who comes and says that, you know what happens to you, right? You know what happens? You get easily blocked. Let's see this guy. Here he is. Ban user and delete their comments. Have a nice day. So long. Thanks for coming, sir. Anyway, look, it's very simple. The guy was saying that he believes, Daniel, in this video, this is a modern video now, that, oh, it is shirk, but it's not shirk akbar, which shows that when he says it's shirk, he doesn't mean that it's shirk akbar. He means that it's minor shirk. Unless he means it's some third category, which nobody ever heard of, which he's making up and coming up with it on his own. And also, notice he conflates Shirk Akbar, which says you must necessarily make takfir of the person. When just before he showed with Karim Abu Zayd that no, when it came to Omar Suleiman, he believed it was an act of Shirk Akbar, but he didn't takfir him. So why are you not leaving open that third option, Dan? Why can't you say that it's Shirk Akbar, but not necessarily automatically takfir such a person? You don't even open that third category up. More dishonesty by you because you want to make it seem like we are crazy Wahhabi takfiris that are takfiring everybody and supposedly want to unalive everybody. That's what you claim. Now, let's go back over here. Okay, I'm going to go back to playing the video, but before I continue that, let me go to the super chats. There's been a few super chats. Good question for Daniel. If someone is told that their istighatha practice is shirk, meaning a minor shirk in his opinion, but remains upon it, would they be takfirable or not? Of course he would say no. No chance. He would not takfir that person. Could it be because his family might be Shia and his country, Iran, he doesn't want to condemn their beliefs to be shirk and kufr? It's definitely, I think, a major part of it. You know, I'm not going to say anything personally about his family because I don't, even though Daniel has done all of these things, I'm not going to get into that. I don't want to get into those sorts of things. But I think it's obvious, and I don't think it's anything strange. I think it's a natural human emotion that if he comes from a Shi'i background, his whole family is Shia. He said he literally said he has millions of cousins in Iran. He's promoting alliance with Iran for political purposes. He's trying to water it down. And I think psychologically, he may even be doing that to cope in certain cases, right? And I'm not even doing this to attack him. I'm saying it's natural that, oh man, my family, you know, is Shia, so I don't want to, you know, and I'm not saying he's doing this necessarily consciously. I think by now he might be, but I don't want to condemn them to hellfire. So because of that, I have to find a way to make it make sense in my own head that they're not actually kuffar, or they're not going to die upon kufr and shirk. I'm not saying that this is for sure. I think it's very strong. I think that this is actually a more human, you can say, interpretation and psychological interpretation of what's going on with Dan. And this is not an attack on him in that respect, rather than calling him an agent like he's calling me. I don't believe that. Even I could, you know, be like that back and say, yeah, Dan, I actually do believe you're an Iranian agent and you're a crypto Shi'i. I know people attack me for actually not believing that, but I'm not going to say that just because, you know, Daniel's attacking me and may have done certain things against me, you know, bringing up personal issues and things like that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to attack his family in that way. You know, I'm not going to do that. So he can do it if he wants, but that just shows how dirty he wants to play and how he wants to be and how I'm not. Okay, let's go to somebody else here. Brother Ali says, Akhi, I love you for the sake of Allah. Likewise, may Allah guide Daniel. Ameen. Akhi, I request and ask you and everyone to make dua for my sick mom to be healed and live long. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant your mother shifa. May he heal her. May he protect and preserve her in health and iman. Ameen ya rabbil alameen. So we don't know exactly what's wrong with the brother Ali's mother, but we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hear our dua. And I also ask that you guys say Ameen and make dua for her as well. Okay, Zach. When will you make more videos on cross kissers? Very soon. Don't worry. Here. Okay, that's a super sticker. No comment, but Barakallahu feek to everybody. Some people were saying I'm not paying attention to the chat. Guys, you realize that there's like hundreds or thousands of comments going by, and I'm trying to present a lot of detailed information. That's why I said if you really want something addressed, then send it as a super chat or super sticker so that I will be able, so that it gets highlighted. And when I'm done and I take these mini breaks, I'll get back to it and be able to read and go through it. Okay, so if you really have something burning that you want addressed, a question or comment that you want to make, that you want me to read out, I will do it. And I don't have a problem with it. It's just there's too much going on. So send it as a super chat and I'll get back to it later, inshallah. Now let's continue here with the video. Okay, let's go back here.
The thing that they'll say is that, look, you're engaged in refutation culture. You are just trying to cancel people. You are just trying to engage in intra-Muslim politics and polemics, and you're dividing the ummah. They have all of these excuses. And to a certain extent, that can exist. There can be too much conflict. There can be too much nitpicking. Yes, that can be a problem. Absolutely. No one is denying that. But these are issues that are so clear-cut, and they are so big that if you tolerate it, right? If you tolerate that a leader, that someone who is considered a leader and a scholar goes in front of people and says that the Sharia of Allah is bizarre and problematic, or goes in front of people and engages in a pagan ritual and then defends it until the video shows the reality. These can't be the leaders of the Muslim community. They'll drive the Muslim community into ridda. They'll drive the Muslim community into apostasy. So this is, it's not nitpicking, right? This is not some small little, we just went into a khutbah and he misspoke, or he had the wrong
slip of the tongue.
Yeah, he had a slip of the tongue. Okay, this is not like that. This is something huge, and it is being advertised. So, and they're defending. Look, you're talking about,
and it's not something that there's any difference of opinion on. By the way,
there's no difference of opinion.
Couple things here. Number one, was it?
So there you have Daniel saying exactly what we've been saying. That look, you have these so-called imams or duat who are defending kufr and shirk. Now that's you, Dan. So don't make excuses as to why we're calling you out, because that's you and you're doing it publicly, right? So it's just so ironic, some of the things that he was saying to defend his criticisms of Omar Suleiman, but now when the roles are reversed and people are doing it to him, he doesn't like it.
There not a point in the protest where he stood by with them, where they were mentioning the names of the dead, saying presente?
Yeah, he was there.
As in present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's calling them dead people.
Is specifically about when they say presente. So they mentioned like some migrants. Some of them were gay and transgender migrants that they're reciting the name. The first one, okay? You're reciting the name.
Right? Is a transgender. Suleiman is the imam,
but they're saying presente, which means they're present. You are with us, okay? So you're calling them and you're saying presente. And in some of the video you can hear, it seems like he's also repeating that chant. So yeah, watch the footage. Watch the footage.
So notice what Daniel is criticizing as part of that pagan ritual, that people were saying presente, presente, as if the dead are present with them. And Brother Imran was saying that, look, this is like istighatha. And Daniel is basically calling this out. What this is the people who make istighatha believe that the Prophet ﷺ and the awliya they're present. They're dead, but they're present in some way, right? They're present with us. And he's calling that out. And it's part of this pagan ritual with Omar Suleiman. Now, okay, no, it's no problem.
Just, I mean, through everything that you're saying, we have to recognize the gift of Tawheed and the gift of Iman and not take it for granted, because this is a world where we might get complacent and there might become rust on the heart. And we might think that, oh, we're safe from falling into shirk. We're safe from falling into kufr. We have to worry about these other issues like, do we have any Muslims in Congress, or do we have any Muslims writing in the newspaper? No, we have this gift of iman, and if you truly value it, you're not going to put yourself in a situation where that is threatened, and you're not going to accept that this be tolerated in the community. There's zero tolerance policy. You have a zero tolerance policy. For example, Abu Isa makes a stupid joke about women. You have a zero tolerance policy for things like this. But with shirk, you are making excuses and you're allowing them to play games and exploit the community. No, the community is not naive. The community is not ignorant. We recognize, and we have the fitrah that Allah gave us. So may Allah protect us from falling into these kinds of crimes and this violation of the deen of Allah and the violation of our purpose to worship Allah alone without any partners. May Allah protect us and protect our community and our children as well, so they do not follow misguiding leaders, self-claimed leaders. May Allah protect us from these. Any ulama su that are trying to cover shirk and major crimes and calling it sunnah, calling it something that is permissible. This is we really need the protection. We cannot survive without the protection of Allah. Because I debated this one guy.
Okay, do you see that, guys? Were you listening? Do you see how ironic that is? Do you see how ironic that is? That Daniel is emphasizing Tawheed and explaining it beautifully, that we have to worry about ourselves. And now look at what has happened to poor Daniel. Exactly what he said. We have to make dua and thank Allah that we are in this position, and we ask that he continues to guide us and that he doesn't misguide us after he has already guided us to the straight path of Islam and the Quran and Sunnah. But now look at him. He's gone completely astray. So either Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't answer his dua. I don't know what happened there. And then what happens now? He's gone completely astray. And this is exactly what we're saying to Daniel. Yes, Tawheed is extremely important. You are downplaying it. You don't understand the severity of your violations. And we have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for sincerity and strength, that he continues to guide us and that he doesn't misguide us away from the straight path. We have to. This is serious. Daniel was right in his original statement. Nobody is to be arrogant enough to think, oh, no. I or my family members or close friends or neighbors. No. We're all have no problem. We'll never have these shubuhat. We'll never actually go astray. You can't think like that. This is not how a Muslim thinks. Right? Look at this guy, man. C. Smith, this is the last call. Now you're getting blocked. But before you do, I just got to say, dude, you're severely misguided. The Quran says only Allah is the judge. You know what the Quran says? The Quran says to judge between the people by what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed. So yes, Allah is the judge in the ultimate sense on Judgment Day, but he doesn't say, we don't have this Christian concept of, oh, don't judge me, bro. Don't judge me, bro. No, this isn't like, don't judge me, man. This is a Christian concept. We, as opposed to the other religions, which makes us stands out, we have what? Enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. When we see something, we enjoin the good and we forbid the evil. This is a Muslim concept. This is a certain type of judgment in that sense. Okay? So I don't know what's wrong with this guy, man, but I think you've been watching Daniel for too long, and you really have not paid attention here. You have not actually learned your religion. Yeah, you say we judge by what Allah has revealed. Then why do you say, oh, only Allah is the judge? Only Allah is the judge. Only Allah knows my heart. This is like how you sound, man. We'll give you another chance. We'll give you 5 minutes. But if we see some foolishness, we got to check you, and then you're gone. You're going to be Houston barbecue chicken like Daniel. Anyway, so let's continue watching this. We got a couple more minutes here. Let's see here. Okay.
who was saying that, no, the most important source of your identity is your race. And I'm a black man, basically. And I said, no, like if you're a Muslim, the most important source of your identity is being Muslim and La ilaha illallah. There's no God worthy of worship except Allah. That is the core of your identity, your beliefs and values. So there are other
statements. Hear that? Daniel was saying the core of your beliefs, identity, and values is La ilaha illallah. There's no God worthy of worship in truth except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wow. He said that. Does he actually mean it? Does his behavior and his statements and the way he acts actually show that? No, not at all.
Statements that Andrew Tate has made. There are other tweets that he has made that are...
Now here he's going to talk about Andrew Tate. Listen to this.
There are other statements that Andrew Tate has made. There are other tweets that he has made that are very problematic. There are videos that he has made that are very problematic. And this has been covered by others, such as Brother Jake did a video. And what is the status of Andrew Tate given these other tweets and these other statements that are clear kufr? Like when you tweet, I am your Lord, bow down to me. This is extremely problematic and it is kufr. You know, this is a statement that a Muslim cannot make, but it's a statement of disbelief. But does that mean that he is a kafir, that he is a disbeliever, that it is taken outside of the fold of Islam because of such a statement? That is a question that we have to take a much closer look at. And so we'll dedicate that to another episode. You know, is Andrew Tate actually a Muslim? And we'll look closer at some of these statements and establish some principles, because this is an area that there needs to be education. My position as...
Wow. So this is an area where there needs to be education. Notice he was kind of praising me or mentioning me, not in a negative way, in a favorable way, right? Daniel says that Andrew Tate made kufri statements, right? And he mentioned my coverage of this case with Andrew Tate, saying, I am Lord, bow down and worship me. He mentioned it in a favorable way that I covered it. Now he's been attacking me and say, oh, look how Jake went after Andrew Tate. And he says that this doesn't mean that Andrew Tate necessarily left Islam. He said we have to have a discussion about that. So it is an act of kufr and shirk, but, and he means kufr and shirk akbar. He has to say that because what he said about Omar Suleiman, Andrew Tate did the same thing, but worse. He said, I'm going to worship the Lord Jesus Christ, went there, participated in the Christian worship service on Easter Sunday, holding a lit candle in the moonlight dark while the priest was spewing kufriyat. If what Omar Suleiman did was kufr and shirk akbar, then by greater reason, what Andrew Tate did and said was also kufr and shirk akbar. Now, if you want to give him the excuse of ignorance at this point, and that's what you're basically alluding to in the video, then now you don't have the excuse of saying that anytime that Jake, Fareed, Adnan Rashid, or somebody else says that something, a belief, statement, or action is Shirk Akbar, that it necessitates making auto takfir, as you say. That's a lie, and you yourself know it because you're familiar with the distinction. So stop lying for your Dan fans who are a bunch of ignorant fools. Why don't you teach them some actual knowledge and let them know something? Stop acting like a lying shaitan and attributing lies to people and saying that we want to takfir the whole world. Now, it gets even worse for Daniel. Watch this.
Has been very clear, because this is an area that there needs to be education. My position has been very clear for years, 10 years basically. I've been saying, I got a lot of flack for this, that takfir is an important part of Islam. Takfir is an important part of Islam, and it's the liberal secular system that wants to eliminate takfir, because they want to say whoever claims to be a Muslim is a Muslim. So you have no right to takfir anyone. This is a psyop by the liberal secular system. Why? Because they want to send agents to corrupt the Muslim, someone who claims to be Muslim, while completely annulling and eliminating the teachings of the Quran and the values and the beliefs of Islam. It is a colonial agenda since the time of Napoleon and the French coming into Egypt, they have wanted to eliminate takfir, and they label it as extremism. They label it as fanaticism. That's what they labeled it in the past. And now they label it extremism. If you takfir, you're a takfiri. But in reality, takfir is an important part of Islam, because you have to separate who is part of the community, who is a believer, who is a Muslim, legally speaking, according to Islamic law, and who is not. This is very important. And if you do not have takfir, you can have, your religion is going to quickly be dissolved. Your beliefs are going to be muddled and mixed up with kufr beliefs, and then you can't preserve your religion. So takfir is a way to actually preserve Islam. And that's why the scholars of Sunni Islam have always had this tool of takfir to declare certain individuals to be non-Muslim. An example is Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah, the great Imam, the great scholar, the genius, the proof of Islam, as one of his titles is, Hujjatul Islam. What did Imam Ghazali do? He made takfir of who? Ibn Sina. So we'll have a different...
Okay, did you guys hear that? Was that music to your ears? No, music is haram, but listen, was that unbelievable what Daniel just said? Daniel has been going around calling people like me and Fareed and Adnan Rashid and all of these different people, we are these wild, crazy Wahhabi takfiris, and they want to kill everybody. They want to unalive everybody, which we don't. It's a lie. And then at the same time, he is saying here, no, actually, the people who say that are part of a psyop. It's the Western hegemony who is trying to infiltrate Muslim lands and control us. But we need takfir. Takfir, Daniel says, is an important part of Islam. And the Western powers are trying to eliminate takfir, and they've been doing it and trying to do that since the time of Napoleon, and it's a psyop. Now he's doing the exact opposite, saying Jake and Adnan Rashid and Fareed for calling things out, not even making takfir necessarily, but calling things out as kufr and shirk. This is a psyop from the Zionists and group whatever 8,000 that Fareed just made a video on, right? By the way, go check out Brother Fareed's new video on his channel. He just released on video on Daniel Haqiqatjou, the Shirk apologist. Okay, so go and check that out, but don't do it until after this live is done. No, I'm kidding. Do it whenever you want. I don't really care, but go check it out eventually. So he before was saying it's a Western psyop, it's a Zionist psyop, right? To actually try to belittle takfir and take it away from the Muslims. No, we actually need it to separate the true Muslims from the kuffar, who are trying to infiltrate our community and spread deviant and kufri beliefs. But now when Jake, Fareed, and Adnan and people like us even just say that a belief is kufr and shirk, we are part of the psyop. Well, which one is it, Dan? You seem to be very confused, my friend. You seem to be very confused. But listen to this. This one is really eye-opening. Check this clip.
Different stream about some of these statements. Made takfir of who? Ibn Sina. So we'll have a different stream about some of these statements that Andrew has made that are kufr statements, but do they make him a kafir? There's questions there. Wow. And I don't think people should be just takfiring him. Perhaps there's a difference of opinion there, but let's look at it more closely in a different stream. This stream was dedicated to...
Wow, did you hear that, guys? About Andrew Tate. This is months back. About Andrew Tate. He made kufri statements, but Daniel's opinion is we shouldn't make takfir of him yet. But he says, should we make takfir of him? Well, I don't know. He's basically open to it. He's saying it's possible. And then he says there is a legitimate there could be a legitimate difference of opinion on whether or not we make takfir of Andrew Tate. But just because Jake went after him and said that his beliefs were kufr and shirk and didn't openly and publicly takfir him, even though now I do, I don't believe that Andrew Tate is a Muslim. I believe he's a kafir zindiq, who he himself is the matrix and he's a psyop. That's what I believe. That's my belief. I do takfir Andrew Tate. I believe he's a zindiq. He is a lying shaitan and is trying to infiltrate the Muslim community. I believe that 100%. However, However, Daniel cannot condemn me for that because he said there's a legitimate difference of opinion. Why? Because there's a difference of opinion on whether or not there is the excuse of ignorance for kufr or in Shirk Akbar or not. And if there is, under what conditions are those removed? And then when do you actually make takfir and all of that? There's some ijtihad or discussion that goes into it, or legitimate difference of opinion, according to Daniel. But now he has a problem with us just saying a belief or statement is kufr and shirk. But before, he was open to the possibility of actually takfiring Andrew Tate. Now he's mad at me because I made a video saying that he made a kufri and shirky statement in action. It's just unbelievable how this guy is so inconsistent and constantly contradicts himself. It's just unbelievable. Okay, let me get to a couple more things. We're almost done here, guys. Actually, I thought we were, but maybe we're not. SubhanAllah, I'm just looking at my notes. There's so much here on Danny Boy. Let's go through a couple more miscellaneous stuff, right? Let's check this out. So here is Daniel saying that dancing is a more important issue than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's highness, his ulu or his elevation, however you want to translate it, right? So Daniel says average problem Muslims are dealing with versus average concern of Wahhabi online. Do you affirm that Allah is physically above the throne? We don't necessarily use the word physical, but he's mocking the conception of Allah literally being above the throne and outside of the universe, outside of creation, right? And he's quoting this story where this liberal Muslim is crying about his daughter who wants to go to a school dance. And he's basically saying what's more important is to worry about our daughter going to a school dance than whether or not Muslims actually believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above and outside of creation, which is to believe otherwise would be a kufri belief. But to go to a dance, okay, maybe you're sinning. It's a problem. It's a concern. Liberal. Yeah, I understand all that. But is it kufr for her to go to a dance? No, it's not. We don't want it to happen. God forbid. But it's not kufr. She doesn't leave the fold of Islam. But if her or her father are actually rejecting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being above the throne and above and outside creation, then what does that mean? Now they are upon kufr. Which one is worse? So, man, it's just unbelievable how he does this stuff. But he doesn't actually believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above the throne. He's mocked this belief many times. This is another kufri violation of Daniel. Okay, let me go to the next one here. I'll save that one for the end. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so here are some examples, explicit examples of what I was mentioning before about Daniel saying that now the person's beliefs and intentions are involved as to whether or not someone actually, whether or not the person is actually committing Shirk Akbar. Okay, here, this would be, yeah, second. This was about his former Sheikh Salik. Right. So let me play this clip for you guys.
So there are a lot of different. So he says, who are some trusted Western scholars? So there are a lot of different scholars who I follow and I think are trustworthy, and I share them on my page. So one of them, for example, is Sheikh Salik. Sheikh Salik. So if you go to my page, he is actually one of the big students of Murabit al-Hajj in Mauritania who passed away. And so he is very knowledgeable and he is very authentic, mashallah. So he is someone that I recommend, Sheikh Salik.
هل يجوز سؤال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم قضاء الحوائج مباشرة بدون أن نقول اللهم إنا نتوسل لك بنبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، بأن نقول له يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اقضي حوائجنا، أعطنا ما نريد مباشرة، درك مباشرة. هل هذا جائز أم لا؟ نعم هذا لا يختلف به أحد من علماء السنة لا يختلف به أحد من علماء السنة قبل مجيء ابن تيمية لا يختلف به علماء السنة على الإطلاق.
Okay, so Daniel's former sheikh, Salik, which he was recommending to his audience as the #1 sheikh in the English-speaking world, right, for people to go and listen to, he literally is saying that you can call upon the prophet to grant you your desires and grant you whatever you actually are looking for. Brother Fareed was in the chat. Salams. Jake and all the bosses in the chat. Okay. Wa alaikum salam. So, okay, C. Smith, it's obvious you're just a shaitan, so you're getting blocked. Have a nice day. We'll see you on the flip side, brother. Here's the point, right? Yeah, thanks, engineer. Have a nice day. Thank you. You can still watch, but you won't comment, at least unless you bring another name, and then we'll block you there too. We don't care. And see, I'm not secretive about it. I let you guys know that I'm doing it because I don't want this foolishness in my chat. Just a waste of time, a waste of space. So, and just meaningless distractions. So it's very clear what he's saying there. Now, let's see how Daniel responds to this. How did Daniel respond to this? Let me go back to sharing my screen. Okay, so Daniel says, watch as I answer Jake's question, but he refuses to answer mine. Is what the Sheikh said, what we just listened to, Shirk Akbar, taking him out of Islam? No, not obviously. It depends on what he means by asking directly and what needs are being asked and what ta'wil he has for what he is saying. Do I agree with such practice? Absolutely not. It is at the very least haram, and it is potentially leads to shirk and should be avoided. So he's saying it's not obvious that what he's saying is Shirk Akbar. Why? Because it matters what his beliefs are, what his intentions are, how we actually interpret what he's saying. It's very clear what he's saying. He's saying we can literally ask the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he says this in other videos, in that same video, that we can ask him for whatever we want. Whatever we want. Doesn't mean if you call him an independent God or deity. But according to Daniel's previous standard, based on Omar Suleiman, he would have said that this is clear-cut Kufur and Shirk Akbar, but now he says that it's not. Okay, next issue. Let's give another example of this. This is for his grand Ayatollah, right? The one he loves so desperately and so much, the great Khomeini himself, who's dead, who died as a mushrik. So this says free education for Wahhabis. It's a bunch of nonsense. Refuted it on X. But anyway, if we scroll down here, he says here. Now, what about Khomeini's statements about the imams controlling the atoms? Again, for the 1,000,000th time. What exactly did Khomeini mean by this? Question mark. What version of wilayat al-taqwaniyya was he referring to? Does he believe that the imams make dua for Allah, to Allah, or that Allah has delegated power to them, or something else? I don't know. I would have to read his other works. We know what it is. We've seen how the Shia have explained it. What does it mean? Just as you said, like we could, if you wanted to play that game, you could say, well, Andrew Tate, just as he did. Oh, what he said was not a statement of kufr or shirk when he said that he is the Lord, bow down and worship him, because that's just a way that street people talk. He meant Lord like he's the top G, he's the big boss, he's the big baller. That's what he meant. He didn't mean that he's actually Rabbil Alameen. Of course, astaghfirullah, he didn't mean that. So because he didn't mean that, and that's not what he intended and what he believes, then his statement is not Shirk Akbar, right, Dan? But you already said his statement was Shirk Akbar. And you're aware of that possible ta'wil. So why didn't you give him that possible ta'wil when you said that what he said was Shirk Akbar? Right? Because it doesn't matter. It's still a statement of kufr and shirk, regardless of what he was intending or believing when he said that. That's what our position is. That's what your former position was. That's not your position now. Now you stretch that about Khomeini, saying when he believes the imams are literally controlling everything in the universe, including all of the atoms. Well, we don't know exactly what he means by that. So we can give him a ta'wil and say that he's not actually saying something that's kufr and shirk. Maybe he just means making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? That's not what he means. And Brother Fareed explains that in detail in his newest video. Make sure you go and check that out because that's the subject of his video. Okay, so I don't really need to go into much more detail than that. He'll take care of that, inshallah. What else? Let's give you another example here. Daniel's famous prayer to Jesus. Those are his words, guys, not mine. His words, not mine. Let's go to this. Daniel's famous prayer to Jesus.
Imagine this scenario. Imagine this scenario where a Christian is praying to Jesus and saying, oh, imagine this Christian has some kind of disease like leprosy. It's like a skin condition. And he knows that Jesus can heal leprosy. And he prays to Jesus. And he thinks that Jesus is God and also the Son of God in the Trinity. And he prays, Jesus, heal me from my leprosy. And is this shirk or not? Obviously, it's shirk. It's Shirk Akbar, clear cut. No doubt about it. And anyone who doubts that praying to Jesus as God is committing shirk is also a kafir, if you doubt that. Because it's very clear cut. This is praying to another God other than the God, Allah. So that's the Christian. But then this Christian, he learns about Islam. He reads the Quran. It starts to make sense. And then he becomes a Muslim. He accepts Islam. But he becomes like a Sufi. He becomes a Sufi Muslim, and he starts thinking about Jesus. Well, Jesus is a prophet, and Jesus had these different miracles. He could cure the sick by the power of Allah, by the will of Allah. So Jesus is like a wali. Jesus is like a saint. And I'm going to pray to Jesus. I'm going to do istighatha to the saint, to Jesus, to heal my leprosy. Oh, Jesus, heal my leprosy. This is istighatha. So the wording is the same. The dua is the same. The only thing that is different is his beliefs.
Did you hear that? The wording is the same. The dua, the prayer is the same. Those are his words. Even Asrar Rashid, for all his foolishness, actually had to slam and correct Daniel on his recent live stream that even him and these crazy Brelvis don't even say that they make dua. They don't even use that word. That's what he said. He said anyone who says that they make dua to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is kufr and shirk. Even Daniel can't say that. You got corrected by a Brelvi, bro. It's unbelievable. And by the way, Asrar Rashid or his fanboys or his students, I will be responding to your grand Mufti and Sheikh Asrar Rashid very soon. Have no fear. You guys think that he destroyed me. His attempted refutation was absolutely pathetic, was laughable, and I'm going to have to take this man to school. I'm going to have to teach him some actual aqidah, teach him some actual theology, and teach him the English language, which he doesn't seem to really know, at least when it comes to these theological topics. So look out for that soon. And I'll also be correcting him on his lies regarding Ibn Qudama and the Ash'aris. So stay tuned for that. That should be coming out in the next couple days. And that will give Danny Boy some relief because I have to deal with Asrar Rashid for a little bit. So anyway, let's continue.
Right? Because before he believed that Jesus is God. After he believes that Jesus is a wali.
So here's what he's saying. The belief is the same. The dua is the same. The prayer is the same. But because the person no longer believes Jesus is God, as long as he just believes that he's a wali or, saint or friend or ally of Allah, then it's okay. It's not Shirk Akbar. This is what he's saying. But before, in his original videos criticizing Omar Suleiman, he said the beliefs, intention, and knowledge are irrelevant. The act is still an act of kufr and shirk, which is correct. Now he's reneging on that. He's going back on it.
Not God, and he's a wali that can only do miracles through Allah. But the act, the dua, is the same exact dua for the exact same thing. And to Jesus. What has changed is just his belief about Jesus. Is Jesus God? Or is Jesus a person, a prophet, who has been granted the power to heal miraculously by Allah? Are these two acts exactly the same? The Salafis who say that istighatha and praying to the prophet or praying to Jesus is Shirk Akbar, like what Jake claimed and what all these other people are claiming, if it's Shirk Akbar, that means it's exactly like the dua that he was making when he was a Christian. But obviously it's not. Obviously there's a difference.
So he's saying if it's, in order to say it's Shirk Akbar, you must say that it's exactly the same. And because it's not, then therefore it's not Shirk Akbar. That's his argument. So people get confused because Daniel is purposely lying and misleading people. When he says that he believes it's shirk, he doesn't mean Shirk Akbar. He means minor shirk, which is a whole nother, laughable thing. But anyway.
Why? Because he has different beliefs. He doesn't think that Jesus is God anymore.
So why is it not Shirk Akbar, even though he's still praying to Jesus when he becomes a Muslim? Because he took his Shahada and doesn't believe that Jesus is God. But so therefore he can still pray to him. And it's not Shirk Akbar. This is literally what Dan is saying.
Anymore. He's a Muslim. He says the Shahada. He believes that only Allah is God and only Allah is Lord and only Allah should be worshipped as God. That's his belief. So how can...
That's his belief, but then he still goes on Sunday to pray to Jesus. Or he still has this habit of praying to Jesus on Sundays, right? But he took his Shahada and he says he's Muslim and he says he only worships Allah, but he still makes dua and prays to Jesus. Yes, it's haram, it's terrible, but it's not Shirk Akbar. This is what Danny's saying. Crazy.
What he says after becoming a Muslim be exactly the same as what he said as a Christian. It can't be. It can't be the same thing because his beliefs have changed. So that's why I think it's reasonable to say that, well, before, when he was a Christian, he committed Shirk Akbar. After he became a Muslim, he's also doing something that, if you say it's shirk, I'm not going to argue with you.
If you say it's shirk, I'm not going to argue with you. Meaning if you say that it's minor shirk, not Shirk Akbar, I won't argue with you. But if you say it's Shirk Akbar, I'll challenge you to a debate and call you a crazy Wahhabi Takfiri that wants to kill everybody. That's what he says.
I'm not going to argue with you that it's not shirk. But can I be 100% sure that what he did is Shirk Akbar in the same way as a Christian praying to Jesus? No, I can't say that with 100% confidence. Because there does seem to be a difference. There does seem to be an important difference there. That's the argument.
That's the argument, folks. That is his argument. That's not cut out of context. That's a full argument. Danny Boy finishes and says, that's the argument, folks. You, as long as you don't believe that Jesus is God, if you pray to Jesus, it's haram, but it's not Shirk Akbar. It doesn't have the potential to get you out of the religion of Islam. That's what Danny believes. And then he challenged me to debate this topic on istighatha. Praying to Jesus, Jake says that it's Shirk Akbar and has the potential to take you outside of the religion of Islam once we do Iqamat al-Hujjah, right? But Danny Boy says, no, it's not Shirk Akbar because the person must believe that Jesus is a God. He's no longer Christian. He took his Shahada. He's still praying to Jesus, but it's okay. It's not okay, to be fair. It's haram, but it's not Shirk Akbar. That's what Dan is saying. Dan's position itself of denying that it's Shirk Akbar is kufr itself. Okay, so I hope that's clear. And again, it all has to do with him making an excuse about the person's beliefs and intentions when before he said that was irrelevant when he condemned Omar Suleiman, and rightly so, for his act of kufr. Let's see if there's anything else to get to. Oh, one more thing here. Let me share my screen again. This is just another example of Daniel on this whole thing about it's not kufr and shirk unless you look at the person's intentions. So let's look at this, because this has been discussed between Daniel and I recently. Is it your position? He responded to it and everything. He said, nah, but they
Ignorant in
this issue between him and I right now. There are some other issues, right? We can discuss then when
exactly what hijab saying on if it's independent so many times. It depends on
then what we're talking about here.
It depends on istighlal. It depends on independence. Exactly what hijab said. Said so many times. It's shirk and kufr depending on if it's an independent power or not. How many times have I said that?
Allah. Did you hear that? He said wilayat tekwaniya or the belief that the imams or created beings control everything in the universe, including every atom that moves, every beat of your heart, every atom that's floating around in your body and brain, and all around the entire universe is controlled by 11 dead imams who are controlling all of that simultaneously. And guess what? It's not kufr and shirk unless the Imami Shia believe that those 11 imams, unless they explicitly say and affirm and believe that those 11 imams are independent gods and deities. That's what he's saying. It only becomes kufr and shirk akbar dependent upon istiqlal. He's an istiqlali, which is meaning it's not kufr and shirk unless you attribute complete independence to the being. And he says the Shia don't do that, therefore they can have that belief. It's haram, it's bid'ah, but it's not shirk akbar and doesn't have the potential to take you outside of the religion of Islam. Therefore, we can still ally with the Shia because they're not kuffar. This is the argument. This is the argument that Daniel's making. So again, another example of where he's saying the person's beliefs and intentions matter as to whether or not the belief or statement or act of calling out to the person or declaring them have the ability to control all the atoms in the universe. It's not kufr and shirk akbar unless you believe that they are independent gods like Jesus and the Trinity. That's his claim. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Which, by the way, as a side point, even the Christians don't believe that Jesus and the Holy Spirit are independent deities. Did you know that? I have many videos on this actually on my channel, because the Christian belief, the mainstream Christian belief, is actually that only the Father is completely dependent, or in Quranic terminology, as-samad. They don't believe that the Son and Holy Spirit are as-samad or ase. In English would be aseity or independent. They don't believe that. They believe that not only the Son is dependent on the Father when he becomes a man, he's eternally dependent upon him. They have this doctrine which is called eternal generation of the Son. It's written in the Nicene Creed. So they don't even believe that the Son and Holy Spirit are independent deities. They believe that they're God, but they're not independent gods. They're dependent upon the Father for their existence and for every action that they perform. So it's just, according to Dan's standard, they wouldn't even be guilty of kufr and shirk. The Trinitarians. That's the interesting part. Okay. So let's see here. Let me see if there's anything else to get to. Okay. So last thing, kind of wrapping up, I made a mubahala challenge to Daniel. Since I've been on this live stream and I gave him 24 hours to respond, he's been tweeting about, animals grazing the fields and stuff like that, but yet took him so long to respond to my mubahala challenge. He's responding with some foolishness, I'm told. I have to look at it in detail because it's a long post, but I will be addressing that. But he's running. He clearly does not want to do a mubahala with me on this issue because he knows he's lying. He knows he's a shaitan, and he knows that inshallah the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be upon him. And he doesn't want that on him. And I don't even want that on him. I want him to repent from his kufr and shirk and make tawbah and come back to the Quran and Sunnah. Stop spewing this nonsense and just go back to what you were doing before. That's what I would like. But he's not doing that. He's lying against people. He's slandering us, calling us government agents working for the UAE and Faris and Morocco and Bahrain. And I don't know, maybe to throw in Adnan Rashid, maybe he's going to say Pakistan. The guy has lost his mind. He's out of his mind with these lies that he's coming up with, right? So I will be responding to that. I will be responding to Adnan Rashid. Not Adnan Rashid, astaghfirullah. I will be responding to Asrar Rashid about his recent stream where he claims that he refuted me on an article I wrote that is related to Sifat al-Ikhtiyariya, or basically the idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala acts in succession. He does different things at different times. This is so obvious from the Quran and Sunnah and common sense, or the fitrah, but yet he denies it, and he says that it's a bid'ah, and so do the Ash'aris and Maturidis in general. So I wrote an article on this. I said that I explained what Imam al-Bukhari's position was. I gave early, I gave the early, not Ibn Hajar, I gave the early actual commentators on Imam al-Bukhari's text who admitted that he interpreted this way and interpreted the same way that I did. I even showed from Anwar Shah al-Kashmiri that he interpreted the same way and even said that Imam al-Bukhari had the same position as Ibn Taymiyyah and that a large majority of the muhaddithun actually had the same position. Asrar Rashid didn't respond virtually to any of that, but yet his fanboys think that he destroyed me. So I'll be responding to his supposed refutation, schooling him on a couple pointers, and also schooling him on his lie regarding what Ibn Qudama actually believed about the Ash'aris. So anyway, I hope this made sense to you guys. I hope you understand why Daniel owes Omar Suleiman a serious apology, because he was condemning him for committing an act of kufr and shirk, saying that his intention, beliefs behind why he did it and what he was doing were completely irrelevant, and it was still an act of kufr and shirk, which was true at the time. But now he's saying that no, it's not actually kufr and shirk, unless and until we find out why they believe it. Maybe we can make ta'wil of them. It's not until they attribute istiqlal or say that they're an independent God or deity or all these other foolish conditions, right? Now, if somebody believes they're an independent God or deity, of course it's kufr and shirk. So that is something that could be a condition for making something kufr and shirk, but it's not a necessary condition. There are other things besides that that could still make it kufr and shirk without the belief in istiqlal or any of this kind of stuff. Okay, now let me just wrap up here and get to a couple last super chats before we close out. Somebody said, thank you, Jake. Janatul Firdaus, may you enter. Ameen. Okay, brother says, Assalamu alaikum, akhi. Okay, may Allah reward you for these much needed videos. May Allah give you shifa, and you as well, brother. Please pray for our brother here in the chat. He's going through the same thing as I am. He also has MS, the same disease. We're inshallah going to do a joint video about that in the future. So make dua for him as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him shifa. Say ameen. Ameen, ya Rab. To everyone else, please make dua for brother Jake. Our MS video coming soon. Yes, inshallah. Barakallahu feek. Wandering Mind says, Salam, thanks again, my genius bro. I'm not a genius, but astaghfirullah, but barakallahu feek. May Allah keep you happy and healthy. Please pray for me so that Allah make my iman strong and my manners better. Likewise, bro. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate our iman, make us strong in our iman, and preserve us in that iman, and may he make us better in our manners as well. I need help with that, of course. Ameen, ya Rab. Okay. Brother Ali, Jake, thank you so much for the dua for my sick mother. Could you also make dua for here in your salah as well, akhi? Yes, of course. Wa iyakum, I will do that, inshallah. I will. Barakallahu feek. Islam is the way. Sends a super sticker. Barakallahu feek for that. We appreciate that. Here. I feel like the Shias employ people like this to confuse and divide Sunnis. They don't care about the truth. They just want to take revenge. I think that's mostly true. Some of them are genuinely misguided, but a lot of them spreading this are. Ali Musa sent a super sticker. Barakallahu feek for that, akhi. I really appreciate it. Anybody who sent something, if you want to send a last minute super chat now, as I look through the comments just to see if there's anything here worthy of quickly responding to. Otherwise, I'm going to close the stream out and look forward to my upcoming streams regarding Asrar Rashid and what I'm going to reply to Daniel today on Twitter regarding his ridiculous counter Mubahala challenge. Okay, let's see. Someone said leave Takfir to the scholars. No, not necessarily. We can make takfir of people. If somebody comes up to you and says that they believe that they're a Muslim and they believe that Jesus is God and they worship him, can you make takfir of him? If you see them bow down to an idol and say that they tell you they're worshiping the idol, do you need to actually see a scholar to make takfir of him? No. So you guys have to understand these differences. Okay, Jake Bezina says, Muhammad Hijab was at an event with Israr Rashid. How is this okay? I've already spoken to Muhammad Hijab about this. And what Israr Rashid did to him was absolutely pathetic. They were supposed to be, so this guy is a fake. He's a fraud, Israr Rashid. He's supposed to be at an event where they're supposed to be unifying. Muslims are supposed to be unifying for sticking up for the Palestinians and the Palestinian cause. And this bozo, this clown, this joker, Israr Rashid, actually takes the opportunity to try to throw Muhammad Hijab under the bus, right? Because he knew he was going to look bad in this situation, sitting up there with Israr Rashid, a shirk apologist. Yes, he is. He's a shirk apologist, just like Daniel, but worse, right? And this guy actually takes it upon himself to try to throw Hijab under the bus and say, oh, look, see, Hijab is sitting up here with me. He has no problem with us Sufis. He doesn't like Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. And he tries to throw him under the bus. And Hijab looked very bad. He looked terrible. I told him that already. Right to his face, actually. I told him that. Literally right to his face. So he knows this. And he recognized it. He agreed that it was ridiculous what Israr Rashid was doing in that event. You know? So I hope that he would never do something like that again. That he wouldn't be fooled and duped by somebody like Israr Rashid. But look, people ask me about Brother Muhammad Hijab. Look, you guys think that I agree with everything that this brother says and does? Of course not. Just go look at my conversation with him and look how much we're disagreeing and how I told him that his position of not actually declaring anyone a deviant or being so loose with wanting to call somebody a deviant and not willing to do it. I said, this is ridiculous. This is not a correct opinion. I was trying to correct him on that live on the air. So don't be confused and think that I agree with Muhammad Hijab on everything that he says and does. No. But at the very least, he's much better than Daniel. Why? In the sense that he said that istighatha to the dead was Shirk Akbar. He said that wilayat taqwaniyya was Shirk Akbar. He said that believing that imams are greater than prophets is kufr, that can take you out of the fold of Islam. Now, he affirmed those beliefs that they're kufr and Shirk Akbar, but he has a problem with, he said he doesn't have a problem with takfir, but he has a problem with declaring people deviants because he said it's a little bit gray area, it's a little bit funnier. Even with the Ash'aris and Maturidis, he doesn't have the belief of Daniel. He explicitly said that some of their beliefs, specifically on the Quran being created, that it is deviant belief, and it's even a kufri belief. He said, I'm a Hanbali, follower of Imam Ahmed, or he claims to be, right? So he said, how can I say anything otherwise? And the early Hanabila even considered the Ash'aris to be kuffar, he said. This is what Hijab was saying. Does Daniel believe that? No, he says the person who says these things is a jahil, right? And shouldn't be actually saying these things. He has the position of Ad-Dadu, where he's saying, no. These are just all acceptable ijtihads and difference of opinions. And yeah, somebody can believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not above the throne, and they can believe that istighatha to the dead is a good thing, and they can deny Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sifat, and they can have all of these deviant and kufri positions, and yet, no matter what, we don't call them a deviant, we don't call them a kafir, we don't call them any of these things. And we don't even say that these are deviant or kufri beliefs. That's the position of Daniel Haqiqatjou. That's not the position of Muhammad Hijab. The position of Muhammad Hijab is, yeah, some of these positions, I agree with you, Brother Jake. Some of these positions are deviant or kufr, but I'm so light and I'm so skeptical to actually declare a specific individual a deviant. Okay? I'm not saying that we do it automatically, but there are conditions, there are steps for it. And when it's clear and you've done iqamat al-hujjah, then of course you can declare the person a deviant. So Hijab has a big problem with this, of declaring people deviants. He's way too soft on this. I explained this to him directly in the conversation, live, right? So, you know, there's no, we can say, question about our differences, but my differences with Daniel are much greater. Daniel doesn't even consider the beliefs of Ash'aris and Maturidis to be bid'ah or kufr. He says Daniel himself can be wrong about them, and the Ash'aris can be right, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala isn't above the throne, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't speak, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't do different things at different times, that all of these different things. Daniel could be wrong about all of them, and the Ash'aris could be right. So anyway, hope you guys understand the difference. I'm not defending hijab's problematic nonsense, that some of the things that he was saying, and I'm saying this openly. And I've told him this privately, and we've had entire conversations about it, and we had a public conversation where we were disagreeing. So Layla says, Barakallahu feekum, Brother Jake, or feekum Barakallah. Really appreciate that. Ali Musa says, Akhi, thank you for this. I appreciate it a lot. Yeah, of course. Barakallahu feek. Let's see. Okay, well, Yakum, I will await your message as contact. Yeah, I'll get back to you on Twitter, Akhi. Please forgive me. I've just been very busy, as you can see, and you know. Okay, here. Let's see. Is there anything else? Dan got years of sin by slandering scholars 24/7. It's 100% correct. 100% correct. Okay, so that looks like that's it, guys. Again, look out for the next live stream. Probably be either tomorrow or the next day. I'm not sure. Dealing with Asrar Rashid. And look out for my Twitter and YouTube post later today responding to Daniel's so-called counter Mubahala challenge. With that being said, guys, I hope that you found this video educational. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel. This is my new channel where all my videos will be. Like, comment, let me know your thoughts. Share this on your social media platforms or with your friends and family. And no matter how small or big your reach is, it really does help, guys. And if you want to go above and beyond and support my channel, which we do need your support here because I'm not being funded by these foreign governments. If you believe that I'm not and you want to support my channel, then the best ways to do so are at the pinned link in the live chat or at the top 3 or 4 links in the description of this video. But until next time, guys, inshallah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.